Okay. Mae croeso cynnes iawn I chi gyd yma heno I glywed ddwy o chwaraewyr proffesiynol rygbi Cymru yn trafod am eu gyrfa amdano nhw. Very warm welcome to you all for joining us tonight on the call to hear from two professional athletes who are playing for Wales currently, and Bristol Bears. Jaz and Alisha, very warm welcome to you. Thank you for being with us and giving up your time to talk to us. We've had a few questions already sent in to us to ask you. But before we get into them, we'd just like to know a bit more about you and a bit about your careers and what your perceptions are at the moment of women in sport. So take us back to the start, I guess, and before rugby, who were you as people? What shaped you growing up in Wales? Jaz being right down there in the west of Wales. What was it like growing up in West Wales and being a part of the community there?
Yeah, I mean, I absolutely loved it. The smallest city in Britain, they say. So, yeah, I loved it. I had a brilliant childhood. I lived in a little cul-de-sac area where loads of my friends and family lived there as well. So every day was outside playing. And me and my brother were always only allowed out till 6, and we had an early bedtime, and then we had to watch everyone else out playing. So, yeah, I had the best upbringing ever. And then played sport my entire life and been fortunate enough to continue to do that, and now it's allowed me to have a job through it.
Brilliant. And Alisha, Jaz was in rural West Wales, and you, I suppose they call it towny, being from Carmarthen. What was it like for you growing up in Carmarthen those years ago?
Yeah, I think probably pretty similar to Jaz, like just probably typical Welsh family, like your mum opens the door on school holidays, chucks you out, and then just calls you back for dinner type thing. Had a really good childhood, and I think I kind of fell into sport. My dad played rugby, and I went down with him, and then I think probably the only thing that I've been really good at, like throughout my life, like schooling and stuff, probably wasn't like where I thrived the most. But when I was involved in any type of sport, that's where I kind of came alive, and I think I just always knew that I wanted to pursue a career in sport, and I was just lucky enough that the opportunity came and I was able to do that.
Yeah, well, I've had the privilege of knowing you, Alisha, for a number of years now, and we first came across each other as your 560 officer, and I've said this story many times, but your first words ever to me were, "All right, Mush, are you ever going to start a rugby team in school?" And those are the first words that this year, I think you're in year 8, girl came up and said. And I think if you remember, I challenged you. I said, if you can find the girls, we'll start rugby in school. To which you came back the following week with a handful of girls. And from there we went on. And I think looking back at that time, I think if I was to pinpoint the time where I thought, oh, this girl has definitely got a talent in rugby, was when we went to Roslyn Park. And I think you carried the school team from round 1 all the way straight through to the semi-finals, scoring about 18 tries, nobody else in the team scoring, and getting us there into the final. But for you both, when did you realize really that, do you know what, I'm really good at this sport and it could be more than just a hobby for you? Is it
about 3 years ago for me, to be honest?
Yeah.
All I was fast. Genuinely though, like I was lucky enough to be able to go to, well, 3 Olympics, but the first one, I'm not just saying this, I genuinely was only fast. I could just about catch, I could tackle now and again. So to be able to build a living on playing rugby is well, a dream come true. Like I never would have thought I would have done that, but I think definitely after going to first Olympics, being capped for the first time, it was then like a reality. I could do this now for however long my body will allow it.
Yeah,
I think probably for me, like I grew up pretty similar to Jaz. Like I started playing when I was 6, and I was the only girl in the team. Grew up like that, being the only girl, not seeing any other women role models in rugby. Growing up wanting to be like Martin Williams, and like you wouldn't see like any of the Welsh any Welsh women, or it wasn't broadcasted, the games weren't local, couldn't find a local girls team anywhere at the time. So I didn't really know that there was an option for me to have a career in this. And then I suppose after school, I started working for UHL, just coaching and stuff, and realising there wasn't actually a career that we could pursue in rugby. It was just like a hobby. And then when the game turned professional, that's when I probably really started figuring out that that's what I wanted to do, and probably putting more of my time and effort into that to try and pursue that and be the best that I could be to be a full-time athlete, I guess.
I think you're both professional athletes based on your merits and your skill sets and capabilities. But you mentioned there, Jaz, that you've been to the Olympics. Can you sum up what an experience that is for people? You know, we've just been watching the Winter Olympics now, but what was that experience like for you?
Oh, watching the Winter Olympics is a different ball game. We watched it with Alicia's mother the other day, and Alicia's mum goes, "I could do that." It was a skeleton racing where they're like going down forward. I was like that. I was like, Anna, I'm going to be honest. I don't think you have that in your breadbasket. But watching them is fantastic, and to be able to go to 3, I can't sum up one word between all 3 of them. They were very different experiences. The first one, I was only young. I was 19, 20 going, so that was a very kind of, I looked at it very differently. And then the other 2, then I was kind of, I allowed myself to be more present in it rather than look forward and be like, oh, this could be. But it's just an experience, an opportunity you never would have thought as a little girl growing up that you would have been able to have the chance to do, and to do it with some of your best mates. Like, I'm still best mates with some of the girls I went to the first Olympics with. Like, it gives you more than just rugby, life experiences and travel. It does give you people that you're going to be hanging around with and be best friends forever.
Absolutely. And then in that second Olympics, I think if people want to have a look at YouTube, there's a clip that went viral, I think, when you tracked back and made that tackle. And the Jaz Joyce was all over the news and social media for a couple of days, that. But if you want to go and look at it, I'm sure they can find it on YouTube. But if people don't know, you're married. And that is something quite rare in professional sports. I did a bit of a search before meeting you. I think there's 6 married couples within professional sport. What is that like, and how's that shaped you in terms of your competitiveness with each other, but also your bond as well in sport?
Well, yeah, I know it's crazy, but me and Jaz first met each other when we were probably about 14, 15, really young, because when, you know, it's like in Wales, very close-knit, especially women's rugby community, and we used to share lifts up to training and stuff like that. And then
Peugeot 207, the red one.
And then, I don't know, we've been together for 10 years now, so it's been a long time. And I suppose it's just, we're not competitive. We don't even play in the same position. It's not very competitive with each other, even when we play games and stuff in the house today. We're not massively competitive.
Just let it win, otherwise it's not fun for anyone.
That's not true. But I think it's really cool that we get to experience all these things together. We've got to travel the world together. We've got to like meet some amazing people and experience like loads of amazing things. Like we've lived in Australia, we've travelled, we've done so much together. Now obviously, like, embarking on parenthood together has been like the newest experience, but I think we're just so grateful about what we've done, and we still have like this ambition to still continue to do more, which I think is really cool.
I just think it's massive as well, like in a sense of, I then don't have to explain to Alicia, I'm in camp now, look, I'm not going to be able to text you, ring you as much, like I'm pretty busy. She then knows that, like, 'cause she does it daily, so it definitely has allowed us to thrive in our careers, and we've backed each other from day one. I mean, I travelled the world for 3-4 years with sevens, and I was probably away more than I was home, so
perfect.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's how it worked probably. That's why we've been married. But I think because we do the same job, we live the same career, we just want each other to thrive, and it's easy for us to do that because we know each other's lifestyles.
And Ralphie Bach will have a new experience now with the both of you being selected for the Six Nations.
Talking about Ralphie Bach, she's just going to go and sort him out.
You carry on, no problem at all. So we'll pick up with you then, Leash. So looking at life as a female rugby player, what do you think that still gets misunderstood about women's rugby? What do you think of the perceptions that people still have which are wrong about it?
I think it's like any like male dominated sport. It's almost like, oh, I think some people still don't realise that women actually do play rugby, and like you still get asked questions like, oh, like, do you tackle? Are the rules the same? Do you really do that type of thing? And I think all those natural perceptions that you would see still happen, especially with like young children in school. It's not, I suppose, it's not really cool for young girls that want to be quite feminine doing such a masculine thing, or what's perceived as a masculine thing. So I think that's what perceptions I would say that are still, I mean, a lot better now than they used to be, but I would say are still there.
And I think, have you ever had a bad experience that you think, oh, do you know what, right, I'm going to prove you wrong, I'm going to go out and smash it? Is there anything that's happened?
There is like one standout thing was, I must have been in year like maybe primary school, and probably like year 5 or 6. And there was a rugby tournament I was playing with the boys, and it was down in Stradi school. So we went there, and a group of girls would call, I'm like, I have long hair, like a group of girls would be like, oh, he, call me him, that type of thing, like on purpose, things like that. I think I'd be like, oh, I'm quite a laid back, chill person anyway, but like I can see how that could affect other children or girls that would thought, oh, I don't want to be called him. I'm not a boy. Like, I'm still a feminine, like strong woman or strong girl. But I suppose moments like that, you're like, actually, do you know what? I can still do this and be really feminine. And I think there's a lot of women that are in the sport now that really try to like embrace that and show that, especially on social media and things like that, which I think is really cool.
Yeah, and I think over the last 10 years, professional women's rugby in Wales has changed dramatically. There's still a lot that needs to be done and will be done, but I think definitely improvements have been made over the last decade, definitely. So give us a bit of an insight then, Leash, of what is a normal, so you both picked for the Six Nations coming up now, what does a normal training week look like that the fans probably never see? Hello! There he is.
Big sleeps.
He didn't want to miss out. Didn't want to miss out meeting everybody in West Wales.
Yeah, I know. Training week. So if I played on a Saturday, we'd usually train on a Monday, which would be more like a clarity session. So go through anything you like, review anything you've done on the weekend before, and then go through anything you want to go through for the game coming up. Tuesday would probably be a bigger day.
Dominate, we call it, like a
contact day. More like physically demanding. You do like speed work, gym work, contact based stuff. Wednesday would usually be off. And then Thursday would be your team run day. So you're still a gym, you're still speed. It's more of a power based day, like short power outputs, I'd say. Jumps, primers. And then Friday would be, if you're in, would be again just a bit of analysis and any primer gym work you wanted to do, or you just be off, gentle walk, and then game day Saturday. That's how it usually looks.
The perception is there from what you've explained. There's no different to what a male rugby player would go through in terms of how they prepare for a game and the toughness that they got to go through. And sometimes that can get lost in the people who are watching it, just how physically demanding you put yourselves through in training and in games. And as I said, rugby demands a lot of physical toughness but for either of you, what's been the biggest mental challenges you've had in your careers?
Injury, I would say.
For you.
Probably being injured, just like, it's a roller coaster anyway, like through selection, like injury, and then trying to come back and not knowing you're like standing on your footings, then like squad, like things change, especially now, like having had a baby, like trying to come back, like it's really mentally challenging. You have a certain amount of self-belief, but then you just don't know how the game has changed in that time you've been out. So I suppose it's like just like still having belief in like the work that you put in your training and things like that. I would say is probably my biggest challenge.
I've been touched with quite lucky with injury, so I've not kind of had that mental challenge that Alisha has. I think it would be being yourself in an environment. Like some people like you, some people don't, and I think when you're in the public eye, you're very aware of that. So obviously, same as the men, we get lots of comments online, abusive comments, but then we also don't forget the positive comments that we get online as well. I think when I was younger, I wanted to be liked by everyone, like every single person, but in reality, that's not the case. So I think the older I've got, the more mature I've got, and the more I'm in and around this environment, I've been able to be like, oh, I'll just be myself. Like, regardless of what that looks like, I'll be who I am. Otherwise, it takes too much energy. It drains my soul trying to be a person who I want to be liked. So I think that's definitely something I've grown to do and grown to just be myself. And that would be the best advice I would ever give anyone younger, in rugby, in sport, and just in life, to be honest.
Social media, particularly in the World Cup, was in the media and everything about a lot of the teams, and that's how the argument is, that's how you communicate with your audience, and that's important. And I think girls in particular relate to social media and what you do, but there's a lot of criticisms over it. Has there ever been a point in your career that you thought, oh, do you know what's the point of continuing? Or have you always come through with great resilience, or what pulled you through that moment?
You go through like peaks and troughs,
Yeah.
like especially like being like slightly older now, you get a bit more perspective on things, and like life is a lot big. Like life, there's a lot more to life than just sport. And we're like living proof of that now, more than ever. But like I was saying to Jaz, there's a reason why I keep going back to the game. Like I could stop now, like I've become a mum, I'm on maternity leave, but yeah, I'm still going back. Like why do I do that? And it's because I've got like this scratch that I need to itch, and it's not I'm not done yet. That's how I feel. And like I don't want to go look back in 10 years time and be like, I finished a bit early there. Like I still have more to
You'll never go back to it then.
So I'll never have a chance to go back to it. So because it's such a short career, isn't it? So it's just like,
yeah.
I think when I'm done, I'll know, and I just know it's not just yet, but it's soon.
Yeah, I think with the comments, negative comments online and stuff, there was not this World Cup, the World Cup before. I was playing one of my first games at 15. I'm not a 15, but I had opportunities to play there, and I enjoyed it. But there was comments before the game, which I should never have read, saying, oh, 15 can't tackle, Jaz Joyce can't tackle. So stuff like that, it definitely plays a part in your head that subconsciously you don't think about. And then in the game, then I was like, if I miss one tackle there, and I'm like, oh, they're right, I can't tackle. And then that gets in your head then the whole game. But I don't think there's been any comments, or as a team or as an individual, that have been like, oh, I'm going to have to step away from the game now. But I've been lucky enough to not have a huge amount of criticism, but all that I've seen anyway. But there's a few girls that it would affect them more, wouldn't it? Some girls it affects more than other girls. It doesn't affect so much, but it's definitely something you just need to ignore and just carry on with it.
It was easy to see, Alisha, your passion for rugby from 11 years old, because that's all you wanted to do was to play rugby every opportunity that you had. And it's great that you're continuing to do that as well for you as well, Jaz. So, as I said at the start, we're here for International Women's Week. So, in relation to that, tell us who are the women in sport or beyond sport that have inspired you the most.
I can remember watching the Olympics as a young girl. I can't remember how old I was, but I can remember watching Kelly Holmes and one day thinking, oh, I'd love to go to the Olympics, not having no real thought that I would actually ever get to go. I know she's a runner, a sprinter. I was quick at this point. I thought, oh, maybe. But she's definitely been someone I've looked at and been like, oh, I'd like to do that. So she's definitely something I've looked at up to. And we had an old captain called Rachel Taylor, who played for us, and she was absolutely fantastic. It was when I was starting in my career. She was energetic, positive. She was great at the game and really made me feel welcome in an environment which sometimes can be quite daunting, and she will always stick in my mind as one of the greatest leaders that I've ever come underneath.
I think for me, maybe like I said, when I grew up, I didn't have like massive amount of like female role models in the media or in sport that I really look up to. I can't like pinpoint one like sporting figure. I suppose I've like been brought up like around really strong women, like my mum, my sister's like raising like an amazing family. My she's got 3 like children. I think like she's like really inspiring. They're both like, got 2 sisters, they're both mental health nurses. I find that really inspiring, because for me, I've only ever known sport, like, and any career path I've decided to go down has been like a sporting one, whereas I suppose my sisters have done something completely different and like love like helping people and giving back to like the community in that way. So I just, I suppose that's more inspiring to me than necessarily like an actual sporting person, I suppose. But I do love Katie Taylor, I do have to say.
Yeah.
The boxer, I think she's really inspiring, like the stuff she's done for boxing. I love boxing, I love women's boxing, so that's I think she's really cool.
Yeah, I think Katie Taylor could definitely put a pair of rugby boots on and do some.
Oh my God.
You've
run away from her, not even near her.
She did, I don't know if you've seen, she did, when the Lions were playing last year, she did the message for the Lions, and how like well spoken and how she articulates herself. I think she's really like, it's so cool that they had a woman speak to them. I thought that was really cool. And like obviously Andy Farrell has, he's one of the best coaches in the game. So I think, having a woman speak, yeah, exactly. I think it was really, really inspiring.
And we mentioned earlier that women's rugby in Wales has come a long way over the last decade, at least. But in terms of the progress, what are you most proud of, I guess, for sport here in Wales for women, and what do you think we still need to change?
Oh, it's come such a long way. When we first came into the game, and you'll know how like
there's no clubs.
You couldn't get any proper medical treatment. You wouldn't have you're smiling at me. You wouldn't have any like proper like S&C gym programs. So to be able to crack a professional game then was almost impossible. Whereas now we have all these
clubs, hubs,
programs in place.
Yeah,
so there's a proper avenue for girls in the country to pursue their dream of being a rugby player. But I think sport in general, just looking through schools and stuff, how well the schools are, how much initiative is used within the schools to try and get girls into sport. I know it's challenging, but I think definitely the right path, and there's a lot more girls wanting to participate in sport now, which I think is really, really cool. And I'm sorry to did you hear that there? Oh yeah, that's rude.
I think sport just brings you so much more than physical attributes as well. Like I know you wouldn't think it, but I was a quiet little girl in school who like wouldn't dare stand up in front of someone and like, I don't know, do a PowerPoint presentation or anything like that. Even in uni when I was 18, 19. But then I think now the confidence you grow, the people you meet, the coaches you meet, it just, I don't know, it gives you a newfound confidence within yourself, which I think is massive for younger girls. Like self-confidence is huge growing up. So yeah.
Well, my next question was going to be, what part of yourselves do people not see outside of rugby? But I think we're seeing it right there in front of us, the family together. With Ralphie back there. It's and I think that's so easy for supporters to think of you just as rugby players, but obviously you're rugby players for 80 minutes.
Gosh, honestly.
Oh, that's the whole family together now.
The whole family.
Yeah. But we see you for 80 minutes and we just think of you as rugby players. But in fact, your parents and you just live within the community and you're a family like everybody else.
Yeah,
definitely. We're aunties as well to 3 absolute carnage boys. Alicia's sister's got 3 boys under the age of 5. So to be honest, most of our days off are spent with them. We love spending time with them, taking them out, taking them to play groups and stuff. So there's now 4 of them, so it literally is 1-to-1.
There's no doubt that I think that this opportunity on our forums this week is going to be one of the most popular ones, with the biggest tune-in that we've got of people listening in. So in terms of inspiration and for the next generation, if a young girl said to you, rugby isn't for people like me, what would you say to that young girl?
I think the question would be like, what does she mean, people like me? Because I think a lot of people are like, oh, I'm too small to play rugby. But then you only have to look at me, Kira Bevan, to think, oh.
I think there's so many inspiring women that could prove otherwise now. If you just look across the game, oh, I'm too girly to play rugby. There's so many like women in the game now. Just look at throughout just the Welsh squad. You can look at the Roses. You can look at like Alona Marr, for example. Like all these women that are taking their platform and using it for such great things. You can be any type of person and be a rugby player now.
Yeah.
It's literally such an inclusive game for all shapes, sizes.
We all look
everything.
Very different.
And we're all completely different people. Like just because we play rugby, that doesn't mean anything really to what or who we are outside of the game or off the field. So I think rugby's just for anyone really, isn't it? I think that's what I love about the game.
It's the best.
Before we come to the questions that people come out of and further afield have waiting to ask you, looking forward, as you said, it's not a never-ending career at the highest level of sport. So what are your hopes for the future of women's rugby in Wales moving forward?
I would like to see like continued growth at like grassroots, more opportunity for girls, like young girls. Like when I grew up and I was the only girl in the team, I'd like there to be more young girls wanting to pick up, like go down their local team and just give it a crack, because their friends from school are going there, and then there's clubs available for them in school, and I would like to see the grassroots game.
Yeah,
I think that's only going to be beneficial for the professional pathway in the country, and same for the men really, isn't it?
And finally, when that day comes where you are going to hang up your boots, how would you like the people of Wales to remember you?
It's a great laugh. I think, well, maybe you wanted to Jaz?
Yeah, it's tough, isn't it? I think to remember, obviously, the older you get, the less good you are, I guess. So I think
that's not true.
Well, yeah. I think you just want people to remember like what you've given to the game. Like we've given so much to the game personally, but also to our friends and family. Like you guys went out to Paris to watch me play, and they said it was the best holiday, the best like time they've ever had. So I think giving back to the people that have helped you along your way is massive to us. And I think, yeah, you just want fans to remember you as, oh, she loved playing the sport. She was always happy. She was always smiling. Like she always wanted to be there. I think that is tired, boring you, am I? Yeah, smiling. I think that's what I wanted people to remember. And me as.
I don't even know, to be honest. I think for me, probably be like, oh, she left it all there. Like there's nothing else to give now. she needs to retire.
Well, I think you're going to be remembered for a long, long time after your careers come to an end. So what we'll do now, I'll hand over to Alistair, who's been taking questions from people in our communities, and he will ask you a few further questions. That's all right to you both?
Of course.
Lovely. Over to you, Alistair.
Thank you. I'm not trying to retire you, because I know the last question was just about retirement, but so when you're done with rugby, when you both decide to stop, what next? What do you think you'd like to do after rugby?
I've been thinking about this a lot lately because, like I said, I was terrible in school. Like sport was the only thing I wanted to do, and I was thinking, like, when you're that age, you don't think about, like, well, how am I going to provide for my family now? Like, how is this like? So I've been thinking about that a lot more lately, and I think I was speaking to like Sports Holiday the other day. I'm hoping to go back to uni. I'd like to be a youth worker. So that's definitely, like, I see that being in my future. And yeah, I think that's what would be next for me, still working with like the youth within the community as I did before, just in a different setting.
Yeah, I think I've been to uni to do my PGC, so I'm a qualified primary school teacher, and I've wanted to be a primary school teacher since I was very young. So that is definitely something I'm definitely going to go into, and I've been looking forward to it for a long time. And yeah, if I can make a little girl, a little boy's life happier in school, then I think that's what I'll go with. And a mum of 6 or something, that'd be nice.
Amazing, thank you. And would you say that becoming mothers has changed your approach or your attitude to rugby at all? Do you think it's made life easier in terms of getting ready for match days? Has it given you fresh perspective? What do you think it's changed?
I'm so like new. She's only 3 months old, so I'm still so new into it. I'm still trying to adjust, and like I'm back in training now. So initially for me, it was like a bit of guilt of like leaving him to go to train, because I feel like my sole priority is to be a great mother, but then I have my own identity as like who I am as well. I'm continuing. I have, like I said, I still have more to give to the game. So I'm like in a balancing act at the moment, but it just gives you more perspective being a mother. Like, it's a game at the end of the day. Like, it is literally just a game. We love what we do, but you know, our son and our family is a priority beyond all else. So
I think it's easy for me because I've been playing. Say I make a mistake, or I've had a bad game, or we win or we lose, I then just come all the way back to Ralphie, and you think, was it that bad, or like, is it really going to affect my life in a week or so? And if the answer is no, I just try and forget about it. Remember, we've got a little boy at home.
Great, thank you. Yes, it gives you a bit of perspective sometimes, that things aren't as bad as, you know, so if you dropped a pass or something, it's, you know, it's more important things at home waiting for you.
Bad, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. Do you have any strange, you know, or unusual pre-match rituals? Anything that you sort of feel you have to do, or superstitions or anything like that?
I'm not superstitious at
No,
all.
none of us are.
No, a lot of the girls are like, they'll have, you know, the music or certain strapping, or you know,
they'll have their hair a certain
way. I'm like quite horizontal, like I'm horizontal, quite laid back person. So for me, I think with superstitions, if you forget it that one game, or say it's like you forgot to do this one thing, you can't then have a bad game because you forgot this one. Do you know what I'm saying? But some people really live and die by it. But for me, no, I don't.
Same as both of us. Yeah.
Sorry, that's a boring answer.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you. And obviously, I know you already spoke earlier about the recent World Cup and how many eyes were on it and how sort of it exploded on social media. What do you think you'd like to see for the next one? You know, if people talk always about sort of bigger and better, and what do you think you'd like to see for the next one in a couple of years' time?
God, to make the World Cup bigger than the one it was this year is going to be hard. Like, I think it helps that it was in England, and England were favourites to win it, and the final was a great game, and I think Canada were fantastic leading up all the way up until the final. So you always knew it was going to be a good game.
I'd like to see more unions like continue to invest. Obviously, you've got England, which are like,
so it's not England
superior almost in terms of investment compared to every other nation. The next World Cup is in Australia, and straight after the World Cup, you get news from like the Australian Union that their girls are getting, the funding's getting cut.
Yeah,
but they're like hosting a World Cup in 4 years' time and things like that. It's like, you've just seen the investment is still coming out now. I think I seen yesterday that Exeter like the community made 30 million from holding games, Rugby World Cup games within the community. When you see things like that, it's like, how are more governments and more unions not using this as a great opportunity? I just like to see more unions go, we want to support the women's side, and there's potential there, but who knows? We'll see.
Fab. Any talk or thoughts of the Lions, of the women's Lions that's being sort of talked about?
Oh, that's going to be massive as well. I think is every rugby player's dream to represent the Lions in your country. So I think it's always an aspiration for us all to do that.
I think, yeah, with the Lions, we're gonna, for me personally, just try and get back on the field first and see how that goes. Like, I haven't played for Wales now for a year and a half, so just try and get back to myself, and if that's playing for Bristol, playing for Brython, the Celtic Challenge team, or playing for Wales again, whatever it is, I'm happy.
Amazing. If you could play any other sport or join any other team, it could be any other team from kind of sort of sporting legends, what do you think you'd have a go at?
I've been watching the Winter Olympics, and I would love to be, I know it's not part of a team, but be able to do some of the ski flips they do. I was like, that's insane. I think, yeah, skier.
Keep dreaming.
I'd want to be a part of any Winter Olympic sport, actually, to be honest.
I would
cool.
I would want to be a tennis player.
A taekwondo person.
Oh yeah, I do like that as well. But we went to Wimbledon in the summer. Oh my gosh, it was unreal, wasn't it?
Oh yeah.
I'd love to do something.
You're
like
winning
that.
then, and
you're actually making money.
Yeah.
They get paid. They get paid pretty well, don't they? They're tennis players.
Do.
So yeah.
I think equally, yeah.
So that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, good answer. Absolutely. What advice would you give to your younger self if you could kind of drop back 15, 20 years, and give yourself a piece of advice? What do you think it would be?
I think I answered that one earlier. Just be yourself. Just yourself through everything you do. Don't let other people determine your mood or your energy, and just be that positive person around others to help them thrive and be the best they can be.
I think I would say don't take things too seriously. Like, one person's opinion of you is not
the all and end all.
Yeah, it's not the be all and end all, because someone else has a completely different opinion of you. And in professional sport, you are constantly being told what people's opinions are of you. So just take everything with a pinch of salt. Listen to positive people, and try and be around people that make you happy and are positive in your life, and
build you up,
enjoy it and take it in, because it goes by quick.
Right. And last one, what's your least favorite aspect of training, or what's the worst bit about kind of being a professional athlete?
Contact drills in the rain. That every time I'm like, oh no, that would be the worst part of training. But you have to do it. You have to get it done. And to be honest, when you're actually doing it, it's not that bad. It's the thought of people bigger than me running at me in the pouring rain. Do you know what I mean? It's not really that appealing.
I would say pretty similar to that. We live in Wales, and it's always raining. So yeah, being in it sounds terrible, she's a rugby player. Being in the mud.
Yeah.
But no, we both of us really love training. Like day-to-day life. Like from my pregnancy, I probably realised how much I do love being active and training. Like I kind of like fell in love with like being healthy and active again, and like that's what was really cool. But being a rugby player, I suppose it becomes every week you do the same thing, gym, rooms, prepare yourself for a game. That can become sometimes like I want to do something a bit different now, but it's worth it in the end.
Well, Alisha, sorry, go on, Alisha.
Go on. I was going to say, I take it neither of you have ever done a scrummaging session on the scrum machine in the rain and the mud, because that's almost as bad, if not worse, than the contact session you just described. That's pretty grim.
Yeah.
Well, lucky, because like we get to train on 4Gs and bands and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So like go down Tumble Park down here to do a running session. Like I had to do a running session in the rain, and I'm like, oh, gosh, I feel like such a princess. Like, what's this mud? I'm like, what is this mud? It's terrible.
Jaz and Alisha, it's been wonderful having your company, and thank you so much for giving your time up. On behalf of everybody in Carmarthenshire and across the West Wales region, we're very proud of your achievements. We're very proud of you as athletes and what you're doing, and we wish you the very best for the forthcoming season. And as Alistair mentioned, hopefully Lions caps on the horizon potentially. But thank you very much. Diolch yn fawr iawn I chi am bod gyda ni heno.
Thank you.
Bye.
Just got to see him.
I know.
How you like? Bye.
Thank you very much. Pleasure.